Welcome to Crushed Husband. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. I knew something was off the second I stepped through the front door. The house was dark, too quiet, like it had been empty for hours. Normally, by this time, I'd hear Tessa humming in the kitchen or clicking away on her laptop in the den. Instead, I was standing in the middle of our living room with my briefcase still in my hand, staring at a place that felt like it didn't belong to me. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and called out. Nothing. I'd left work early, thinking I'd surprise her. Now it felt like I'd walked into someone else's home. My phone buzzed in my pocket, her name on the screen. "Hey," she said, breathless. "I'll be home soon. I've got a surprise for you." That made me pause. "I can start dinner if you want." "No need," she cut in quickly. "There won't be time for that tonight." I frowned. "Why not?" "You'll see." And then she hung up. I stood there for a minute, listening to the refrigerator hum. She'd never been cagey with me before. I loosened my tie, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat at the table, trying to picture what she had in mind. When the garage door finally rumbled open, I got up. Tessa walked in, wearing the same navy blouse she'd left in this morning, but it looked like she'd slept in it. Her hair was flattened on one side, mascara smudged under her eyes, and she was smiling. Too much. "Hey, you!" she said, wrapping her arms around my neck. The kiss was longer than usual, almost staged. "You all right?" I asked. She laughed softly, brushing at her blouse like she'd just noticed the wrinkles. "I've just been thinking about us, about trying something different." Her tone made my stomach tighten. "Different how?" She set her purse down, leaned on the counter like she was about to deliver a TED Talk. "One of my clients, Roland, he's been working with me a lot lately. He's intense. Commanding. He's been telling me about this whole idea of relationship dynamics, how couples can unlock deeper pleasure if they're willing to explore power in new ways." I stared at her, the words catching up one by one. "Roland," she smiled, almost shy. "He says some men, strong men, are happiest when they let their wives take control, really take control. I've been wondering if maybe he's right." My pulse started to climb. "What exactly are you saying, Tess?" She stepped closer, her eyes locked on mine, and for the first time in years, I realized I had no idea what she was thinking. "I'm saying, I think Roland's opened my eyes, and maybe he can open yours too." Her hand rested on my chest. My beer sat forgotten on the counter. Whatever this surprise was, it had nothing to do with me, and everything to do with him. Tessa didn't waste any time. She slid her purse onto the counter, poured herself a glass of water, and turned to me like she was about to pitch a business plan. "So," she started, "Roland's been telling me about something different, something we should try." The way she said "we" made my stomach knot. "Different how?" Her lips curled in a faint smile. "He believes relationships work best when the man lets the woman take control. Really take control, total surrender. It's freeing." I just stared at her. "Freeing for who?" "For both," she said, like it was obvious. "He says men underestimate how much they can get out of being submissive. The passion, the connection, it's electric." I shook my head, forcing a short laugh. "This is coming from the guy you train? The same one who's got you coming home looking like you slept in a broom closet?" She didn't flinch. "He's opened my eyes, Marcus. He's confident, unapologetic. And he made me realize I've been holding back. We've been holding back." I leaned on the counter. "Let me guess. He thinks he's the one to fix that?" Her gaze locked on mine, steady. "I've been fantasizing about him, about what it would be like if he—" She paused, voice dipping. "Took me. No hesitation, no pretending. It landed like a punch to the ribs. Are you telling me you've already—" "Nothing's happened. Yet." She stepped closer, almost proud of the qualifier. "But it's going to. Tonight." I felt my jaw tighten. "And you're just announcing this to me?" "I'm inviting you," she said, as if she was being generous. "Roland's outside right now. I'm going to take him upstairs. You can watch if you want. You might even enjoy the afterglow." It took everything in me to keep my voice level. "You want me to sit here while you screw some guy in our bed and call that intimacy?" Her smile faltered just enough to show she didn't like the phrasing. "You're being dramatic. This could make us stronger. It's just sex, Marcus." "It's not like I don't love you." I swallowed hard, keeping my hands planted on the counter so I wouldn't put them through the wall. "You really believe that?" "I know it," she said. But I also know you. If you talk to him, you'll understand. He can explain it better than I can. I forced a breath through my nose and nodded once. Fine, I'll talk to Roland. Her face lit up like she'd won. Good, I'll go freshen up. She grabbed her purse and headed for the stairs. I waited until I heard the bedroom door click shut. Then I grabbed my jacket and headed for the front door, already picturing the smug expression waiting for me in that SUV. The cold air hit me as I stepped onto the driveway. His SUV sat under the street lamp, engine idling, glossy black paint catching the light. I walked right up to the driver's side, my reflection staring back at me in the tinted window. Roland lowered it with a lazy hum of the motor. He was exactly what I expected. Expensive haircut, tailored coat, smug half-smile like he already owned the night. "You Marcus?" His tone dripped condescension. "That's right," I said. He glanced toward the house. "Tessa's getting ready. She said you wanted to... talk?" I kept my hands in my jacket pockets. "Yeah, step out for a second," he laughed. "We can talk right here. I'm comfortable." I leaned in closer, voice dropping. "Out. Now." Something in my tone must have cut through his confidence because he finally opened the door. I motioned toward the garage. He hesitated, then smirked like he was humoring me. Inside, the smell of oil and cold concrete wrapped around us. I closed the door, slid the bolt, and walked past him without a word. My toolbox sat against the far wall. I opened it slowly, pulling out a pack of zip ties, a dish towel, and a small tactical knife I used for camping. Roland's smirk faltered. "What the hell is this?" I turned, holding the knife low. "This is me making sure you understand something." He stepped back, hands slightly raised. "Whoa, Marcus, this isn't..." I moved fast, shoving him into the workbench. The breath rushed out of him. Before he could recover, I had one arm twisted behind his back, the other zip-tied in seconds. "Hey, you're insane!" I yanked the towel tight across his mouth and slammed him onto the hood of an old project car. "Shut up." The knife tapped his ribs, just enough for him to feel the edge through his coat. "You like teaching people about power? Here's a lesson. You don't walk into another man's life and try to take what's his." He tried to speak through the gag, panic in his eyes now. I pressed harder. Broken nose or rib first? The question hung there a second before I drove my fist into his face. The crunch told me I'd answered it for him. He groaned, jerking against the ties, but I grabbed his side and slammed my elbow down. He folded, wheezing. I stepped back, breathing steady. "You're going to stay away from her. You're not going to call her, text her, send her a damn email. And if you go to the police..." I leaned in until my voice was a whisper. "I'll find you before the ink's dry on the report." He nodded frantically. I dragged him by the collar out to his SUV, dumped him in the driver's seat, and zip-tied his ankles. He was still gagged, blood dripping down his lip, chest heaving. I wiped my hands on his coat. "Enjoy the drive home, Roland. Dominance looks a little different when the other guy hits back." I shut the door and walked away without looking back, the sound of his muffled curses fading behind me. When I stepped back into the house, the first thing I saw was the soft glow spilling from upstairs. I could hear movement, drawers opening, hangers scraping. Then she appeared at the top of the stairs. Black lace, sheer panels, the same lingerie I'd given her 2 anniversaries ago. She grinned like we were about to share some private joke. "So," she said, her voice low, "how'd it go? He's still out there, right?" "Yeah," I said evenly. "Roland's still outside, waiting for you." She came down the steps slowly, hand gliding along the railing. "I knew you'd come around. I could tell by your face when you left." I let her get close enough to smell her perfume. "Go on, Tess. Don't keep him waiting." Her eyes searched mine for a beat, maybe looking for excitement, maybe approval, but I kept my expression flat. She grabbed her coat from the hook, draped it over the lingerie, and walked out the front door without another word. The latch clicked shut behind her. I went straight upstairs, grabbed the biggest suitcase we owned, and started pulling her clothes from the closet. No folding, no care, just fistfuls into the bag. Shoes, blouses, dresses. I yanked open the bathroom cabinet and dumped every bottle, tube, and makeup brush into a plastic bag. By the time I hauled it all to the bedroom window, the SUV headlights were still cutting across the driveway. She was leaning into the passenger side, talking fast. I unlatched the window, lifted the suitcase, and shoved it out. It hit the concrete with a sharp crack. The plastic bag followed, spilling lipstick and perfume across the pavement. Her head whipped up. Marcus, what the hell are you doing? I didn't answer. I closed the window halfway, grabbed the second bag, and pitched it after the first. A pair of heels tumbled out and bounced toward the curb. She was shouting now, stepping away from the car. Stop! We can talk about this. I slid the window down until only a narrow gap remained. We're done talking. Her hands came up, palms out. You're making a mistake. I shut the window. The lock clicked into place. She kept yelling, muffled now, her voice rising and breaking in the turns. I stood there a moment, looking down at her through the glass, and then pulled the curtains shut. For the first time that night, the house felt like mine again. The banging started less than a minute after I shut the curtains. Marcus, open the damn door! Her voice cracked, high-pitched and desperate. I stayed in the kitchen, leaning on the counter, listening to her fists hammer against the wood. Just talk to me, she shouted. I don't know what happened out there, but you're blowing this way out of proportion. I finally walked to the door, but I didn't touch the lock. Go home, Tessa. This is my home, she yelled back. You can't just throw me out because you're jealous. I almost laughed. Jealous? That's what you're going with? I told you, nothing happened before tonight. Roland just helped me see things differently. Yeah, I helped him see things differently too, I said, my voice steady. Silence for a beat. Then, what did you do? Doesn't matter. What matters is you're not stepping foot in here again. Tomorrow I'm calling a lawyer. We're starting the divorce process. She tried the handle, rattling it hard. Marcus, please, just give me a chance to explain. No. I said it sharp enough to cut her off mid-breath. You made your choice. Now, I'm making mine. Through the narrow sidelight window, I saw her step back toward the driveway. Roland was still in the SUV, head tipped forward, shoulders slumped. Even from here, I could tell he wasn't in great shape. She opened the passenger door, still looking back at the house like she expected me to run after her. I didn't move. She slid in, the door shut, and the SUV crept away into the night. I locked the deadbolt, went to the fridge, and pulled out a cold beer. The first sip hit like a release valve. For the first time in hours, I let my shoulders drop. She'd spent who knows how long convincing herself I was too soft to stand up for myself, that I'd play along just to keep her happy. She mistook patience for weakness, dominance, control, all just cheap tricks for people who can't earn respect the real way. I took another long drink and sat down at the table, the quiet of the house wrapping around me like armor. The calls started the next morning. Unknown numbers, local numbers, then ones I recognized. I let every one of them ring out. By the third day, she'd figured out I wasn't going to answer. That's when I sent the text. Me. Friday. Noon. Porch. I'll have the rest of your stuff. No replies, just silence until the day came. I was already on the porch when she pulled up, driving slower than usual. She got out wearing jeans, a sweatshirt, no makeup. She clutched her phone like a lifeline. Marcus, she said as soon as she hit the steps, I need to talk to you before you say anything. I stayed leaning against the porch rail. Talk. She took a breath like she was about to dive underwater. I was stupid. I let Roland get in my head. He knows how to push people. Nothing actually happened. Not all the way. I didn't flinch. You're telling me that, like it's supposed to matter. It matters to me, she said quickly. I didn't cross that final line. She shook her head. I thought I needed something different, but it was just him manipulating me. Manipulation only works if you open the door, I said. She stepped closer. I'm saying I want to close it. I want to be your wife again. We can fix this. I'll cut contact with him forever. I'll go to counseling, whatever it takes. I met her eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt nothing but clarity. You think this is about Roland? It's not. It's about trust, respect. You shredded both, and you can't tape that back together. Her face tightened. So you're not even willing to try? No. My voice was calm even. We're past that point. I'm not rebuilding a house you burned down. She swallowed hard, looking away like the boards under her feet had suddenly become fascinating. 5 years, Marcus? You're really just throwing that away? I'm not throwing anything away, I said. I'm walking away from something that was already gone. Her hands curled into fists at her sides. Then, I guess there's nothing left to say. I nodded toward the 2 boxes by the door. That's the rest of your stuff. Take it! She grabbed the boxes without another word, carried them to her car, and set them in the back seat. Before getting in, she looked back once, maybe expecting me to change my mind. I didn't move. The engine started, the car rolled down the street, and the only sound left was the creak of the porch rail under my hand. I called her the next morning. She picked up on the first ring like she'd been waiting. "What?" she said, clipped, defensive. "We're going to keep this simple," I told her. "You keep your car, I keep mine. We split the savings. House goes on the market." She let out a humorless laugh. "That's it? No discussion?" "There's nothing to discuss," I said. "You get a clean break." "So do I." Her voice rose. "Marcus, this isn't just paperwork. This is our life. 5 years. 5 years built on the idea you respected me," I cut in. "Turns out you didn't. That makes everything that came after worthless." She went quiet. I could hear her breathing, shaky. "I thought you were better than this. I thought you could forgive." "This isn't about forgiveness," I said. "It's about reality. And reality is, I'm done." When we met with the realtor 2 days later, she showed up with red-rimmed eyes. She barely looked at me as we signed the listing forms. Afterward, she stood in the driveway like she didn't want to get in her car. "This is really it?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "This is it." Her lip trembled, but she tried to hold her ground. "You'll regret this one day." I shook my head. "Number. I regret letting it go this far." She stared at me for a long second, then finally opened her car door. The engine turned over. She backed out, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel the pull to watch her drive away. She was gone before I even turned back toward the house. I packed the last box into the trunk, signed the realtor's final paperwork, and didn't bother locking the front door behind me. The house wasn't mine anymore, not in the way that mattered. 2 weeks later, I was on the road with no real plan. I headed west, stopping in small towns where nobody knew my name, diners, cheap motels, long stretches of highway. Every mile felt lighter. Somewhere in Arizona, the heat gauge on my dashboard spiked. I limped the car into a dusty little town with one main street and a single garage. The sign read, "Jenna's Auto and Off-Road." She came out wiping her hands on a rag, hair tied back, grease on her cheek. "Overheated?" she asked, glancing at the hood. "Looks like it." "Pop it," she said, already walking over. I followed her into the shop while she looked things over. "Radiator's shot. I can get the part in a couple days. In the meantime," she leaned against the workbench. "You hike?" I shook my head. "Not really." "You should. The cliffs out past the ridge are incredible. I take people up there sometimes." "You game?" I hesitated, then shrugged. "Sure, why not?" 2 days later, we were picking our way up a trail in the late afternoon sun. She was all energy and directness, pointing out landmarks, tossing me a water bottle without breaking stride. By the time we reached the top, the desert stretched out forever in every direction. We camped there overnight, the sky turning black and filling with stars. Lying back on my sleeping bag, I felt her hand brush mine. She didn't make a big move, didn't lean in, just looked at me. "You've got a storm in your head," she said. "Yeah," I admitted. She shifted closer, her lips almost touching mine before I pulled back. "I'm not ready for anything serious," I said. She smiled like it didn't bother her at all. "Good. This isn't serious. It's just right now. And right now's worth enjoying." We stayed like that, close but not pushing it, listening to the wind scrape over the rocks. For the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about the past or the future, just the quiet and the fact that I was still here. I stayed in that little desert town longer than I planned. The garage was slow getting the part, and Jenna didn't seem in a hurry to see me leave. We spent our mornings in the shop, her under the hood, and me handing her tools. Afternoons, we'd grab sandwiches from the deli and drive out to some back roads she wanted to show me. Nights were easy, beer on her porch, trading stories without digging too deep. She didn't sugarcoat anything. If something I said didn't make sense, she called me on it. If I tried to dodge a question, she'd smirk and let the silence do the work. I wasn't used to that, someone being completely straightforward without trying to bend me. One night, as we were sitting by the cliffs watching the sun burn down to nothing, she glanced over. "So, what's the plan after your car's fixed?" "Keep moving," I said. "Haven't figured out where yet." "Good," she said. "Don't stall out just because it's comfortable here." When the day finally came, my car sat out front, running smooth again. Jenna wiped her hands and tossed me the keys. "She's ready." I stood there, not quite ready to take them. "Guess this is it then." She stepped in and hugged me, firm, no hesitation. "Don't wait for permission to live," she said into my ear. I pulled back and looked at her. "You're good at that, aren't you?" "What?" she asked. "Cutting through the crap," she smiled. "Somebody's gotta." I got in the car, the engine rumbling under me. As I drove away, I didn't feel that hollow pull I expected. No second guessing, no what-ifs. Just open road stretching out ahead, and the solid weight of knowing I'd finally stopped letting other people decide my worth.